Hi everybody, my name is Chris and I'm here to share my slot car track with you. I've never done a video before, so this is my first time. I already figured out, excuse me, I'm just using a phone that I can't change from forward facing camera to rear facing camera in the same video, so I'm limited. Therefore, you don't get to see my ugly mug. What I really want to do is share my 7-month-long journey into the wonderful hobby of HO slot cars. I plan on doing a few videos, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, however many it takes. I really want to cover my journey into this, starting back in January, why I bought my track, what I bought, how I learned about it, cover some challenges that came up and how I got over those challenges and worked through them and why I learned it, all the way to just the sheer joy of having this hobby in my life now. It has just been a true pleasure. It's harder to be in my slot car room here in the summertime because there's rivers to get in and fish and kayaking and all kinds of stuff to do. I live in the mountains of North Georgia. So that being said, here's the track. There's a kind of an upper view coming down. And there's the bank curve. And I can get more on a plane like that, if you'd like. But anyhow, back in January of this year, 2022, second winter of COVID, I was bored. So I wandered into a hobby store up in a little mountain town of Andrews, North Carolina, not too far from my house in North Georgia. And I saw the guy had a couple of slot car tracks. One was an AFX HO and the other was a Carrera, I believe, 1/32nd scale. So I asked the fella if somebody was going to get into this, what would he recommend? And he said, definitely the HO scale. And I asked him why, and he said, well, you can get more track in a smaller space, number one. He said, number two, the accessories that are made for HO scale are far greater than they are for the other scales, 1/24th, 1/32nd, 1/43rd, whatever. I said, okay. So with that knowledge, I came home and I got, like anybody in this day and age, I got online and started searching for information and videos on HO slot cars. So I happened to come across this fella doing a video from a few years ago. He has a hobby shop toy store up in Ohio, and it's called Pro Tinker Toys. He's got a website, protinkertoys.com. And actually, here's the fella. His name is Brian Young, and yeah, he's always that happy. The guy has been in the slot car industry his whole life. I was fortunate to see his shop out behind his house. He's got 2 slot car layouts and more slot car stuff than you could feasibly imagine. So he did a video reviewing these AFX tracks. One was a starter set, one was a Super International Speedway, which was 4 lanes of racing, and the other was called the Giant Raceway. Well, where I am, on the side of a mountain here, there wasn't a lot of people around, and I knew I couldn't gather up 3 other people to come and go slot car racing on any kind of regular basis, so I ruled out the 4-lane track, and I settled on this one called the Giant Raceway. And let me make this thing move here. There we go. I can zoom in, I think. There it is. AFX is a Giant Raceway. 62.5 feet of track. It's a lot of track. So, I was fortunate to have this room that had a pool table in it. So what I did is I took it has a ping pong top. I flipped 2 pieces. I flipped it upside down, put it on top of the pool table, and that's where I put the track. So, and it fit. all 62.5 feet of it, with a little room to spare. And a ping pong table is bigger than a 4x8 sheet. I think it's like 7x10, something like that. So far it's worked out pretty well. But like I said, I'm going to cover some things, and the first thing I'm going to cover is the track itself. So I still went online and I researched and looked and saw a lot of videos about this track and HO scale, etc., etc. And so I called the guy at the hobby store, and he had one of these sets. So the next day I went and bought one. Now, granted, I had these as a kid, but, you know, by the time I got into junior high, sports came along, then girls, and later on cars, beer, you name it. And slot cars were the furthest thing from my mind until I got older. And it just seemed like a fun thing to do. So I commandeered this room and set this up. So I'm going to start with the track. The first issues that came up for me were with the track. Originally, I set the track up on a smooth surface top. Well, as you can see here, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. There's that fake grass matting that's underneath the track now. I can do this. That stuff. And I like the way it looks. But when you put that much track together, it kind of needs to slide around a little bit so that it can all fit together. So it was quite a challenge to get it back together, but I did. And if I had it to do over again, I'd go to the Hobby Lobby or a place that has HO train stuff. They have a ton of accessories, and they make this, looks like grass, it's green, lighter colored green, but it's like a thicker paper that you can lay down and your track could slide on it. That's what I would put down if I had to do it over again. So that was the first hurdle. The next hurdle was cars. So, that being said, here are the cars. These two came with the set, these Formula Ones. And then these two, I bought because he had them on the shelf. These are the AFX Mega G Plus cars. That's the latest and greatest, I guess. So, those all worked great. And then, because that ProTinkerToys.com site had so much on it, I kept going back there and looking. And, well, it turns out this guy has worked with another manufacturer, not AFX, but Auto World, and he's making his own exclusive line of cars. And I went, wow, now that's pretty cool. So the first car I saw there, I had to buy it. It was this. It's an 1856 Ford pickup. I think it's an F100. It's got his logo on the side, ProTinkerToys.com. And I thought, it's patinaed. It was really a cool car. So I bought it. Well, there's where I ran into my first problem. Now I'm gonna bring this thing down here, as my stepson told me I should be filming more at eye level anyways. So the first problem I ran into was right here. Now, if you'll see this, and you look at that bridge that it's going under, it's barely fitting, but it fits. Well, I had that problem on this bridge over here. There's a bridge right there, and then down at the far end. The far end was not as drastic as this. So hence, you'll see these blocks of wood. So what I did is I thought, okay, I gotta have to raise this part of the track, which is over there, up in order for that truck to fit underneath. by raising it, I also had to make my own bridge support. Because actually there's one of these plastic ones that comes with it is supposed to straddle that track, but it wouldn't be high enough, and there was a big dip. So I made my own out of balsa wood, and I used that one right down there in the middle. Because they don't give you enough of those high ones, and they're very hard to find. So that was the first issue that happened with this track. And so that got solved. And then the next car I got was an older AFX car. It was a 1929 Woody. Well, you can see the height of it, it had the same issue, so I'm glad I did that. And when I got that one, I had to raise it up even a little higher. That's why you'll see multiple levels of wood to get it to the exact height I needed it to. So eventually those would get painted to look like concrete. All right, I'm gonna go over my time of 10 minutes I wanted to keep it to. The next issue I had was the car came with one squeeze track, which is that right there. And it's actually located over there, behind that flagpole. And then it came with these two crisscross tracks. So by doing that, what happened is one of them went right here. There's the starting line. And the other one went right there. So once I had a friend that decided he wanted to come over and do some racing. He bought a few of his own cars and we started racing. I figured out that if you're in this lane, which is where I usually sit right here, 95% of all the turns have a guardrail, so you're protected. And when you're in this lane, obviously only 5%, about 2, maybe 3 curves that you would have to go around on that lane are protected by guardrails. So you got a much greater chance of flying off. So I changed them out with the squeeze tracks, and that solved that problem. So this whole end of the track system here favors the first lane, and that end down there favors the other lane, and it's just about even. There's only a 1 turn difference. So that solved that problem, and I was up and running. So those are the first major issues I had. And again, I keep looking to YouTube. There's plenty of places you can get information. Most of my information came from ProTinkerToys.com, Brian, his son Ryan, and then his brother Tim also works there. And his brother Tim, there's a picture of him. He's a slot car investigator. They call him Kolchak. So I'll explain that later. And then Ryan kind of makes the whole thing run with the websites and web pages and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's about it for the first aspect of this video and about the track. Also, another guy that has a nice track set up and does a lot of reviews for you, especially on cars, is Slot Valley Racing, and that guy's name's Dan. So I encourage you to go and watch his videos. There's a guy named Jeff Ryan that does older Aurora Thunderjets, which are the 1960s and 70s cars. That's pretty good. And then there's another fella, I don't know where he is. His it's from Stockpile Hobbies. He does some good videos. So that's the video on my track. Why I got it. I'm very happy with it. A lot of these trees and things you see around mine, especially the ones down in there, they just haven't been set yet. But there's lots of stuff going on here that I'll get into. Repair garages, press towers, ticket booth and grandstands, more grandstands. We'll get into these race walls. A lot of these cars, they all have specific reasons for being where they are. And now that I'm at 15 minutes, I'm going to shut this puppy off. So, hopefully that was informative. I don't know what I'll do next. Probably I'll do power and controllers, because that was my next major hurdle in this endeavor. But it is a joy. For those of you that are starting out, I hope this helps you as it would have helped me, because that's how I learned, by listening to people's videos. And I look forward to the next one on power and controllers, which will also encompass the various various slot car manufacturers that are out there, and why you need to do certain things, which took me a little bit of time to discover. So thanks for listening. I hope you found something that you enjoyed. And see you next time.